Good day, folks. This is the Real Life Real Estate Investing Show where we talk about real life real estate situations, but we bring you real life real estate solutions. I'm your host, Glenn Glasper, affectionately known as Mr. Dial Out of a Dime. And I can't tell you all how excited I am today. My guest is a legend, a legend. I can't say it with enough L's, E's, or G's to describe him. My guest is someone who I've known for, probably since I was a little babe in the real estate game. And I have learned so much from this gentleman. I got to say, he's been instrumental in a lot of things that I've done in this real estate business. So I'm going to bring him up. So you guys stay tuned and we'll be right back. All right, folks, listen, again, thank you all for joining me today. Again, for those of us just getting on with us, this is the Real Life Real Estate Investing Show, where we talk about real life real estate situations, but we bring you real life real estate solutions. And my guest today is, again, I want to tell you all how much respect I have for this gentleman. He is a long time, and I'm not going to, say his age or anything, but he's a long time real estate investor. I want to say, if I can do it any justice, I think he's been in real estate as probably for 40 years. I want to definitely give him that credit. He's been doing this for 40 years and he's done some amazing things. His bio is extensive. He has students all across the country, Canada, foreign countries, you name it. He's taught, probably nearly 500,000 people in the real estate business, and anything you can think about that there is to be done in real estate, I believe Mr. Lou Brown has done it. So without further ado, because I don't think I can do his intro any justice. His bio is extensive. I'd be reading on and on and on telling you about this gentleman, but I want to bring him up without any further ado, Mr. Lou Brown. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing fantastic, Glenn. How about you?
Listen, I'm really, I feel like a little kid seeing his long lost uncle for a long time.
Well, it's just such a pleasure to see you again. It's been a while and it's been too long. And I just love that we've been able to work together in the past and definitely have an amazing future. So, whatever I can do to help you, let me know.
Listen, sir, this is the beginning of your helping me, and I'll definitely hold you to that. Listen, you being a guest on this show is something that is really, really monumental in the long time that I've been doing this show. To have somebody like yourself take the time out of your, I'm sure, extensive, busy schedule to come on the show with me is absolutely a great thing, and I'm grateful to have you today.
I appreciate your having me. What can I do for you today?
Well, let's talk about, there's so many things. I know you can go in any different direction with this real estate business. Let's talk about, tell the folks, for those one or two people that may see this that don't know who you are, let's tell the folks who you are, and then we'll talk about how you got started in real estate.
Well, Glenn, I've been buying, holding, and selling real estate now for over 40 years, and it's really been a fun ride. I bought my first house when I was 18 years old, and I learned a lot by the seat of my pants. Back then, you could buy properties called non-escalating, non-qualifying, NENQ loans back then. Before 1982, you could literally come in for $45 and just take over somebody else's financing. And that was so awesome. And it's how I got my first, second, third properties. And it was great. And then they came in with that new law called the Garn-St. Germain Federal Depository Institutions Act. Well, fast forward over 40 years. And guess what? I'm still doing it.
Right.
I'm still doing exactly that, because what I did was actually read the law, and I discovered that we could continue to buy properties in a different way. And so I learned that different way, and then I began teaching that different way back when. as you know, at the Georgia Real Estate Investors Association,
Yes.
where
Yes.
they got my start. There's no doubt about it, and encouraged me to teach. And then one thing led to another. I found out I had the bug for teaching, and love to see those light bulbs go off in people's minds and their hearts, and their opportunities that they could create for themselves and their families. And I said, okay, I'm in. I'm all the way in. And then one thing led to another. And you look at my background. So my mom was an immigrant to this country. She came over as a war bride on the Queen Mary. That was back in the day when World War II was over, and the American troopers all over the world had found their loves someplace else. And the American government was bringing them back on the Queen Mary. And then she got here to this country and found out he was an alcoholic and an abuser. And she said, no way, I'm not going to do that. And so she got rid of him. And then she met my father, her second mistake. So it ended up just being the two of us. Now imagine this: no brothers, no sisters, no cousins, no uncles, no aunts, no grandparents for her or for me. So it was the two of us here in this country, and we had to navigate. We had to figure out what to do and how to do it, keep our heads above waters. They didn't have any programs back then. They had a program called Get Up and Go to Work. That was the program. And it worked. It absolutely worked. And we struggled. And, our dining table was a Samsonite card table until I was 17 years old. If you can imagine, the belly in the middle and the metal chairs. And that's exactly how I was raised. Oil burning furnace in the middle of the apartment. It had central heat. If you wanted heat in your bedroom, you opened the door. So definitely it was an experience. We didn't get an air conditioning unit until I was 17 years old. And that's called a window unit that you put in the apartment. So definitely I've been on that side where, the rent man is knocking on the door and my mother's saying, shh, don't answer the door. And I said, why? And she said, because it's the rent man. Oh man. So why not? And she said, well, I'll have the money Friday. I don't even want to face him. I don't want to talk to him right now. And so I found out what it's like to have no money and to be in stress about money, because my mother, God rest her soul, amazing person on the planet. She was a volunteer at heart. She gave of herself. She taught me volunteering, and she was just great, but she never understood money. Money was something to be spent, and if you didn't have it, you spent it anyway. So it was a real struggle, and I learned what it was like to really have to be the one. I had to be the man in the family, and I had to, navigate the waters of learning about money. So I learned that at an early age with no money.
Wow.
So I had an interesting story about that. So my mom had friends, and I called them aunts and uncles since I didn't have any relatives here in this country. And at 8 years old, this is my foray. This is my intro to real estate. Is we went to visit a friend of hers I called her Aunt Mabel. It was Aunt Mabel and Uncle George. And at 8 years old, they told me something fascinating. They told me that they had bought the duplex that they live in. And they told me that the people on the other side were paying enough money in rent to cover the mortgage. And that meant that they were living for free. So here we were hiding out from the rent man, and here they were living for free. And that's when I learned that there are parallel universes. And there's people with knowledge and there's people without knowledge. And I said, I'm going to pay attention to her. And then the next year she bought the duplex next door. And she said the people on one side were paying enough to cover the mortgage, and the other money was theirs. and they went on cruises and they had a lifestyle. She didn't like to cook. They went to the steakhouse every night. I mean, they had the life. Cadillac, man. Before they started importing everything to the country, that was the luxury car, right?
Yes.
And they got a new Cadillac every other year. And then they called me at 16. I was 16. They said, come over here and help me move. I said, move where? A brand new house in a brand new subdivision, all brick home on a corner lot. And I said, yeah, baby, count me in. And it was Aunt Mabel that says to me at 18 years old, you need to buy a house. And I said, Aunt Mabel, you go to banks and qualify for loans. How can I buy a house? She said, I don't know, but you need to meet my friend, Realtor Sue. And sure enough, here comes Realtor Sue. We're driving around like 18. I'm going to go buy a house or something, right? And so sure enough, I did. I bought a house by taking over the existing financing because Realtor Sue knew something that Aunt Mabel didn't know, that you could take over the existing financing. You didn't have to go to the bank. You didn't have to qualify for loans. And because of that lesson, Glenn, I have never been to the bank. I have never qualified for a loan on a single family or small multifamily property ever in my career. And so because I learned that existing financing was valuable. You know, you think about the cost of closing on a single loan, just one single loan, over $10,000 in today's numbers.
Yeah.
And you know, you look at that and imagine that you could just step in and take over existing financing on a property and have zero costs other than the closing costs, right? So I said, man, that is the way to go. And I've done that ever since then. And I've been teaching people how to do that ever since then.
Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. And so in all of that, now of course, you know, we all wish we had an Aunt Mabel and and a Realtor Sue in our lives, of course.
I'd like to apply for the job.
Right. So we have you as Aunt Mabel and Realtor Sue all in one.
That's right. I'll be Uncle Lou.
Uncle Lou. So with all of that, now in having the first experience of being able to do something like that, you said you did your first your house that way, and you've never qualified for a loan. So in today's time, because you said some terms that I know I had never heard before, right? You know, being able to take over financing for $45 and doing those types of things in today's time, what would the just the lay person who needs a Aunt Mabel and Realtor Sue in their life, what steps or what would be the first step I guess they would do, of course, aside from getting in contact with you, what would their first step be to look into possibly doing something like that?
Absolutely. So one of the things I discovered in reading that law that took away our opportunities. Now, what happened? So they passed a law called the Garn-St. Germain Federal Depository Institutions Act of 1982. And what that did was give the banks, the banksters, the right to put the due upon sale clause in the mortgage, which of course means that when someone sells their house, that loan has to be paid off. And almost every loan in America has that due upon sale clause in the mortgage. And so I said, well, let me just read this law. So sure enough, down there, 1701 J3D8, way deep down in the law,
Wow.
I found exceptions. And so when I found the exceptions, well, it's when someone places their property in trust, essentially for estate planning purposes, the lender is prohibited from calling the loan due. So then I went, well, let me noodle this for a minute. If I'm talking to someone that wants to sell their home, and obviously to me, that's an estate planning experience right there.
Absolutely.
And if they chose to place their property in trust, and I chose to purchase not the real estate, but the beneficial interest of the trust, and they chose to sell me the beneficial interest of that trust, well, would that work? And absolutely, it's worked ever since then.
Wow.
And so I don't buy real estate, I buy beneficial interests of trusts.
So listen, that is right there, just a mind-blowing concept all its own. Because
Yeah.
that's something that, in general, someone wouldn't think of something like that, right? So, and because and listen, I've had probably all of your courses, the whole enchilada and all that when you talked about
Yeah,
trust and things
baby.
like that back in the day.
The whole enchilada,
Yeah.
baby. That's the only way to fly.
Right. So I remember you teaching about these things, and I'll be honest. I was just talking to someone, you wouldn't believe it, maybe just a couple days ago, about doing trust, and I mentioned Lou Brown. I said this is the person that I learned about how to do trust from a long time ago. Um, so how? And I know this is a part of what you teach us. What is it? What is a trust? Right. Tell us what
Okay.
that is.
Well, that's a
And how
great
does someone?
question.
Yeah. How does someone get the beneficial interest of a trust?
Glenn, the thing that it was profound for me to learn, and the government forced me to learn. Who knows to this day would I ever have explored trust if I wasn't forced to do it? And
Mm,
so I consider it a huge blessing because I found the entity, not an entity, the entity that
mm.
pretty much is reserved for the elites. The
Mhm,
elites use trusts every day, all day for everything that they do.
mhm,
But
mhm,
in the real world, most people don't. They've heard the term, but they really don't understand it. They don't use it. They don't know it. They
mhm,
talk to an attorney. The attorney says, "Oh, you need to get an LLC or you need to get a corporation." They really don't know themselves that this is the entity, not an entity.
wow,
And so
wow.
what explored once I learned about trust, because trusts are nothing more, Glenn, than a contract. It's a contract between the trustee of the trust and the beneficiary of the trust. So
Mm,
that contract has certain terms and conditions in it. Now, when I got into it, I actually discovered that there's about 30 different kinds of trusts. So
wow.
I realized that there's 30 different kinds of contracts, and these different contracts cover different things. And
Mhm,
so when you get to sorting that out, you actually find the right trust for whatever it is that you're doing.
mm,
And so, for the purposes of being able to purchase beneficial interests of trusts, I found that the best and safest and easiest to understand and easiest to use trust is a thing called a land trust. So,
mhm,
way
mhm,
back in the day when I was X'd out of being able to take over existing financing using the NE and Q loans, I got into learning more about trust since that was the exception
right.
to that law.
Mhm,
And so I became an expert. I started studying it. I went all over the country. I talked to 20 different lawyers. I got all kinds of distinctions because nobody had the paperwork, it seemed. I was able to get concepts, but they really didn't have a system that I could
mhm,
follow and that I could duplicate. So I'd have to go to an attorney and pay a lot of money, and they only gave me one trust. And I said, really, I need something that's duplicatable because I'm in the acquisition mode here. I'm
mhm,
buying properties, and the smartest thing you can ever do is put each property in its own trust. So
mhm.
I needed something duplicatable, and I didn't want to spend $1,500 to $2,500 per trust to do that.
Wow,
And
wow.
and so, sure enough, I figured that whole thing out, and I got the blessings, and I got, mentors and everybody else to bless what I was doing and how I was doing it, and finally put together a system. And then in 1985, I started teaching that through Georgia RIA,
Mhm,
and then just in small subgroup format. And then in 1986, started teaching it to larger groups, and the rest is history now. So I've got people, licensees of my system in all 50 states that are
mhm,
using it. And it has blossomed into something quite wonderful. And, the most wonderful thing about a trust, even if somebody wasn't going to invest in real estate, but at least invest in their own personal residence, right? Well, they've got vehicles, they've got a bank account, they might have stocks, bonds, mutual funds, they might have a jewelry collection, a coin collection, they've got stuff, right? Well, I've found that there is nothing better than a trust. And here's why: because there's a thing called probate, and probate is a thing. It's a real thing out there in the world. And so what we want to do is make sure that no matter what, we're able to stop those creatures called attorneys from winning. And so why do attorneys take you down a certain road? Because they want you to be on that road. That's why. And so what happens is when somebody passes away, there's the probate court that you got to do filings in court. There's delays, there's upset, there's expenses, there's attorneys, there's judges, there's all these things that happen in order to pass assets from one person to another, to the rightful living heirs. Well, that can all be bypassed with a thing called trusts.
Wow.
So inside the trust, you're actually saying who's going to get it. So you don't need a court. You don't need an attorney. You don't need a delay. You don't need additional expenses. All of that can be saved with the use of trusts. So not only can you buy real estate from other people and take over their existing financing, but a bigger picture is every single thing you own can pass to your heirs without having to go through that thing called probate. So that was kind of the magic of, learning this whole process that I was able to learn and then create a system for others to learn and be able to use in their own lives.
Great stuff. Great stuff. Now, that is more than a mouthful. And I know that. So see, this is one question that I know that a few people will want to know. For now, I'm going to shift gears just a little bit. For someone like yourself who's been around for quite some time, and you've probably mentored many of the mentors that's mentoring mentees today.
That is for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Who is the mentor's mentor? So who was it that taught you? I know you had Aunt Mabel and Realtor Sue, but was there anyone that helped you beyond that to continue doing what you're doing today?
Absolutely. That would be Mr. Jack Miller. He's passed away long ago. He was from Tampa, Florida, and he was a scientist. And in fact, it was Jack that I took my system to, because Jack would tell you all the theory. He would tell you everything, the law and everything else, but he wouldn't give you the paperwork.
Right.
No, that's up to you. He was afraid of the liability that would bring to him. So he wouldn't give you the paperwork. He'd just tell you what to do. So one thing led to another. And when I finally put the whole thing together, I sent it to him. And I said, Jack, tear it apart, because he was that kind of guy. He would just, he would tell you exactly what he was thinking. And he sent me the most wonderful handwritten testimonial I've ever gotten. Because it was him, right? And he said, Lou, he said, this is fantastic. He said, every step you've covered everything. I can't change a thing. And that was like, oh. that was a big blessing. And so that's when, and he actually helped me launch selling it to other people as well. And, so it was a great thing. And, I followed him until he passed away.
Okay. So now, shifting back to the trust situation. Now, again, this is something, since I learned it years ago, I've been preaching about it as well. So for someone that's looking to go on the path, as you mentioned, to being able to purchase the beneficial interest, is there a way? So how is there financing to do that, or do they have to pay cash for that? For the people that are looking to get into something like that, what's the path to going to do that?
Sure. And there's really several answers, because I say that each deal has its own fingerprint. Each
Mhm.
seller has their own fingerprint as well. And so what we have to do is coordinate with their situation and
Mhm.
really becoming a master asker, discovering what the seller's situation is, and then creating a solution that does serve them, that does serve what their needs are, and also serves your needs. So, what I was able to discover is that I had an ability to make a presentation to a seller, and the first offer in our world is always a cash offer. Now, that offer is low. It's correspondingly low. And we've actually got a process that we do with sellers. So we make
Mhm.
a full blown presentation. If you can remember old school presentations,
Yes, sir.
well, it still works, baby. It is an awesome thing. And what I discovered is that sellers have certain things in their mind. They're not going to ask you, they're not going to tell you, they're just going to listen. And so I said, if I go through this presentation, I'm going to overcome objections along the way. So
Mhm.
those things that are lingering in the background, rather than just coming in and upchucking an offer on them,
Mhm.
I've actually got a whole process that we do. And
Wow. Wow.
first things first, I actually make this is my Doing Good While Doing Well book, how real
Absolutely.
estate investors provide a service and make a difference. So, what I'll do is go into a seller and I'll actually say, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to make a presentation to you today. And if we're able to work together, I wanted to let you know a little bit more about who we are. We are local certified affordable housing providers. And what we do is help people to obtain home ownership regardless of credit or financial background. And we work with sellers like you and houses like this in order to solve some real problems that are out there in the world. About 80% of the population cannot qualify for a traditional loan at low interest. So we're able to bridge that gap, and you're part of the puzzle here. You selling your house to us will help a deserving family end up with home ownership. How does that sound?
Wow. Wow.
Oh, yeah, baby. so so we're able to gift them this book. And if we're not able to do a deal right then and right there, well, now they've got all kinds of reasons why it works, because this is written not only by myself, but licensees of our system all over America, right? So
Okay.
they're telling their local story about who they are and what they do. And so that was a powerful message that I discovered in our process. The second thing is that once I've inspected the property, then we sit down together and I do go through that presentation to really overcome their objections. And then we get to a final form, and it's called our cost to sell worksheet. Now, Glenn, what we do is give that form to the seller, and using our calculator, they actually fill in the numbers. And it is
Mm.
a powerful thing because they're able
Absolutely.
to learn that there is indeed a thing called cost to sell. So,
Mm.
as a result of that education process that we go through with the seller, we through that presentation, that is an
Yeah.
education for
Yes.
the seller. So now they can understand that even though the house down the street sold for 200,000, that doesn't mean that that seller got 200,000.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right? So, so through that, and then they go, oh, I didn't think about that. I didn't think of it. That makes sense. And so we're able to show them how we can purchase that property. So the first offer, as I said, when we get through with that cost to sell worksheet, that is our cash offer. If the seller says, yes, we're done, because we've already allowed for our cost of funds. Well, your question before about where does the money come from? Well, we get it from hard money lenders if it is going to be a cash deal. And we've already put their numbers in there.
Mhm.
So I've already allowed for and allocated for in my pricing of being able to offer that seller. Well, in fact, the seller's helping me to come to that number. Then we're able to show them this is exactly how we arrived at the number. So the seller's all on board with that. Now,
Mhm.
if they say no to that number, then right there on that cost to sell worksheet, we're able to show them how much we're paying to that hard money lender. And we tell them, well, I would like to give you that money. Instead of giving that to a third party, I'd like to give you that money.
Mm,
Here's how we can do it. And
right.
so that by taking over existing financing, by having the seller carry back financing, we're able to overcome that bottom line cash price and have the seller, my favorite term, the seller is the bank, right? The
Yes.
seller is the
Yes.
bank. So that's what we teach in our trainings as well.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. And that's what people that don't want to watch this now, they want to get straight to the point. How do they learn how to do all this stuff?
Well, that would be a brilliant move, I must say. Uh, we've got a couple of ways that people can engage with us. We've got a wealth builder workshop, which is a 1-day training, and it's wbwlive.com, wbwlive.com. And then I've also got a 3-day event, which is even much more in depth with forms, with a binder full of all kinds of great documents, some of my best stuff, including trusts, by the way, that we
Okay.
cover in class. So it's my 3-day training. It's called Millionaire Jumpstart, and that's millionairejumpstart.com. And I give that about 4 times a year, someplace in the country. So our next one coming up is in Dallas at the end of April. And I tell you, that is the place that we can be sequestered together. Now, I don't play. We start at 8:30 in the morning. We go to about 7:30 at night for the first 2 days, and 8:30 to 5:30 on the third day. So it's intense. There's a lot of great information there because we got to get through that binder, because I've got a lot of good stuff in there. And we actually do a cost to sell worksheet right there in class. So not only do I talk about the presentation, I also get through, and everybody in the class has to do the cost to sell worksheet themselves. So they're
Wow.
walking out with knowledge on what to do and how to do it.
Wow. And what was that site again to register?
It's millionairejumpstart.com.
Okay.
Millionairejumpstart.com. And I strongly encourage you to become a VIP, because that does give you special seating. It gives you a special certificate, a private consultation with good old Lou. So if you got a deal that you're working, if you got a problem, a challenge, an issue, whatever it might be, you can use that certificate at any time. So I include that in the VIP. I also take the whole group of VIPs to dinner one night. I mean, we just have a blast. We have an absolute blast. I enjoy the heck out of teaching this class because I really jumpstart. I call it Millionaire Jumpstart, and that is a no joke. That is a no joke. Because I've helped so many people to become millionaires, and I really love the process. I've become a millionaire in the process, and I love helping others to do that as well. And so you'll actually meet millionaires in class, because I always encourage my existing clients to come back. Because they're going to hear things and see things they never saw before. It's sort of like watching a movie. When you watch it the second time, you see things that you missed before. And so I encourage all my licensees to come back at that Millionaire Jumpstart. And so you can't help but meet millionaires in the room that have already succeeded with what we do and how we do it.
Great stuff. Great stuff. Now you made a couple points here that I want to have to revisit. So folks that are, for those maybe just joining us, or maybe watch it later on. You mentioned your licensees, and you also mentioned something where when you speak to the seller about how you help people become homeowners.
That's right.
And I'm familiar with a program that you had some time ago, and I'm sure you probably still have it today, called Path to Home Ownership.
Yeah, baby.
So tell us a little bit about that, and how someone might become a licensee or something like that.
Oh, that's a great question, Glenn. So when I require 6 days of training, 3 of those days are that Millionaire Jumpstart, and then 3 additional days in the field, which we've recorded, and people can study that at home. And so they have to take 6 days of training, and then they have to pass a test, a 50-question test, and then they become certified. So in the process of learning that and coming to the jump start and what have you, we get deeper into that. But that also gives them permission to use this branding in their business. So now they themselves are certified affordable housing providers, which is a registered trademark, and then they can offer the path to home ownership in their really any place in the country that they want to. And again, that's a registered trademark. So we give them a license to use that in their own business and to build their own business. And, those students that need me involved in a deal, we do deal partnering, we do deal funding, we do things to support our licensees.
Great stuff. Great stuff. How does now what is the path to home ownership and the
So
certified what does that look like? What is the makeup of that?
I'll tell you what, the other part of what I love, I love not only solving sellers' problems, but I love solving buyers' problems as well. And
Mm.
it pays handsomely. So we call it never pay rent again, the path to home ownership. So our world revolves around this right here, where we take deserving families, regardless of credit or financial background, and help them obtain home ownership.
Mm.
And when I say that that pays well, because we're attracting folks through our marketing. So this is another thing that people learn from me is how to market for those folks, what questions to ask, the information to get from those people in order to be of service to them. So once we get the customer, and this is going to sound weird, Glenn, another unique thing about our program is we start with the customers, not the houses.
Mm.
So everybody's all focused on buying houses. No, no, no. We're focused on finding customers,
Yes, sir.
because these customers are going to tell me important things like how much down payment they have and how
Mhm.
much they can afford on a monthly basis. So based upon our inquiry and our own calculations that we teach people to do, then we're able to identify exactly the top number that we can sell them a house for. Now
Mm.
we go about finding a property below that we can purchase and make our customer happy. And
Mhm.
we make our money on the spread, my friend. And
Great
we
stuff.
make money from now on. So
Yes.
many times we become the bank for that new buyer. And as a result, we're making money for the next 40 years or so.
Great stuff.
and
Great stuff.
and so, they can at any time go on to the bank if they choose to. So they can get a new loan from the bank, or they can just remain with us and we'll be the bank for them. But what is so magical about that is being able to purchase the property in the right way that has the right financing in place. So if I can take over someone's existing financing on their property and I can turn around and sell it to my new buyer that I've already pre-qualified what they
Mm.
can afford to pay, then that's how we make our money. It's called arbitrage on Wall Street. We make our money on arbitrage, the difference between what you can sell it for and what you can buy it for. The bread is in the spread, baby.
So this is I have to always make sure I give this disclaimer when I have guests on my show, right? I am a great copycat, so I'm going to use some of your terminology. The first time I'll give you credit for it, the next time is mine.
Just always tell them where to come. The Grand Park.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, I dare not use your patented "yeah, baby."
Everybody will know where that came from.
Everybody knows where that came from.
Well,
But
honestly, that's why I had to put trademarks on my stuff. The whole enchilada, Street
yeah,
Smart, my name, path to home ownership, certified affordable housing provider. Those are all registered trademarks.
great stuff. Great stuff. So, because you said the bread is in the spread, I love that. I love that.
And it is so true. And by the way, the buyers don't mind at all. You say, well, you bought the house, but they don't do that. They say,
Mm,
thank you. Thank you.
wow.
What's your address? I want to send you a Christmas card. They love us. They appreciate us. When you come to our headquarters, Glenn, you're going to see we have a wall of winners there. We have
Mm,
people that we've been able to help or that are currently in our program. And we're recognizing them because we give them a certificate. We give them a certificate to recognize the level of the path to home ownership. So we have 4 levels to the path to home ownership. It's rent, rent to own, owner financing, cash sale. So that is bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. And so
mm.
through that process, we actually grow people up, and our paperwork is actually wired to grow people up through that path to home ownership so they can end up winning.
Great stuff. Great stuff. And you showed us a couple books that you had there. Um,
Yeah.
one is Doing Good While Doing Well. Is that something that people can pick up?
That's an Amazon bestseller. We're in our 5th edition now, I'm proud to say.
Mm,
This actually, I gift everyone who comes to Millionaire Jumpstart, I gift them this book. So instead of
great
having to
stuff.
pay $22 or whatever at Amazon.com, they can actually get it for free coming to the Millionaire Jumpstart. We have a general admission for $99, and then we have our VIP where it's loaded with all kinds of good stuff, but you'll find all that at millionairejumpstart.com, and you'll get the free book there. The other thing is, another thing I would recommend people get, and they can, I definitely will give them a coupon for a discount on this, but this is buy, hold, sell. Now, this is kind of like my whole story. This is the whole enchilada of real estate investing here,
Mhm.
where I take people soup to nuts on what to do and how to do it in the world. So this one, again, is a bestseller. And what I've got for you is a $5 off coupon on that one, and that is Street Smart. Excuse me. Let's see here. StreetSmartInvestor.com/BHS book. B for buy, H for hold, S for sell,
Yeah,
uh,
got it.
uh, BOOK. And so we do this for people because we know that when people read this, they're going to be totally on board with what we do and how we do it. One of the things, Glenn, that I found is that people not only want to make money, but they also want to make a difference. And
Absolutely.
I kind of happened into this over my years of talking and teaching and seeing how people wanted to really serve their people. They
Mm,
wanted to serve the seller. They wanted to serve the buyer. And I want to do it myself. So I said, what can I do to create that? And that's where the brand was born. It was out of service so that people could not only have a great business, but also could have something that would be very lasting, and they could feel proud about it when they're talking to their family. I mean, who thinks real estate investor is a good thing, right?
right.
Only real estate investors think that's a good thing. But, but, but the world out there thinks lying, cheating, stealing, money grubbing, good for nothing. And so, just welcome to your industry.
Right.
So what I discovered is that who we really are is people who serve the community. What we
Mhm.
do is we buy dilapidated, rundown properties. We are able to serve sellers who can't be served in any other way. We're able to serve buyers who can't be served in any other way. And even lenders, private money lenders who have money sitting in the bank at 0.0% interest.
Mhm.
And we can borrow that money. We can deploy that. We can put it to work, helping deserving families end up with home ownership. So, the trifecta there of really building a business that is all designed to work in congruity with another is exactly what I love sharing with other folks, and I found out that it resonated with a lot of people.
Great stuff. Great stuff. Yeah, and again, listen, I have been following, and as you're talking, I'm thinking about a lot of the things that I do today are a result of what I learned from you years ago, right?
Thank you.
Now,
Thank
of course, I haven't been around for 40 years. I mean, this year I celebrate 25 years, but I got to say a good chunk of my knowledge has been following the things that you do and the things that you have done over the years.
Oh, that's
So
great.
again, I'm grateful to have you on this show as one of my mentors. from then and now, and doing the things that I do. A lot of the things, talking about trust, talking about being the bank and things like that. These are things that I've actually taught as well. And of course, I could probably use some brushing up on my skills so I can teach the modern way of doing these things. But
Oh
this
man, well, that sounds like I'm going to see you at the end of the month in Dallas.
absolutely, absolutely,
Absolutely. That's the plan, man. I'm serious because I have, and I really do love sharing this out because it does have a legacy.
yes,
And I
yeah,
want this brand to live on. I want what we're
absolutely,
doing to live on. I literally have a vision of transforming how housing is done in America. And
mhm,
there's a huge underserved group of folks that we can absolutely serve with a different approach than the
yeah,
banks have, because the banks are in a box. They have this regulated, very tight box that they only can live inside of. And we can be outside the box. And I love all the people that we're serving outside of the box. They love us, they appreciate us. And there's a lot of people that have houses now that would not have had a house if it wasn't for us.
absolutely, absolutely. Now, I got a question that was sent to me. We have an audience of people that some chime in here at different places.
Absolutely.
Um, the question is, how does Dodd-Frank, and I'm sure you can answer this, how does Dodd-Frank plays into the whole seller financing situation?
Absolutely. So, there are parameters that you can live inside of with Dodd-Frank. Now, number one, you can do 3 deals a year and not be subject to it,
Hmm.
meaning you can be the bank for someone else and not be subject to all the parameters of Dodd-Frank. Once you go beyond that, it's not a problem. We have licensed mortgage loan originators on the team that will actually do your clearances. That's called an ATR, which is ability to repay. So that person moving into your home, they've got to prove up their income, their down payment. Well, that's no different than I teach you to do anyway. It's
Right,
no
exactly.
different. We don't want you ever to have somebody move into your home that actually can't afford it. So we
Mhm.
have you do exactly the same thing. But this is a sign off from a licensed mortgage loan originator that now you can put into your file and make your file compliant. So once you go beyond 3, that's the answer there. And the amount of interest that you can charge is regulated. So that is based upon there's a APOR plus 6.5 points that you can add to it. Well, now that thank you, Federal Reserve, they've been moving everything up. So as a result of that, we can't even charge as much interest as we could charge
Mhm.
because of the current interest rates.
Mhm.
It is a great thing. I've been doing this for over 40 years, offering in-house financing. We call it in-house financing, and it works beautifully. And there's no restriction from Dodd-Frank when you add on that licensed mortgage loan originator to approve anything beyond 3.
Wow, wow, great stuff, great stuff.
Mhm.
And that alone, I mean, is invaluable information,
Yeah,
for someone that's looking at doing something like this. Tell us
absolutely.
again, when is the Millionaire Jumpstart? Uh,
Jumpstart. The next one coming up is the end of the month, April 28, 29, and 30 in Dallas, Texas.
okay.
And then later in the year, about every quarter, we have a Jumpstart someplace in the country.
Mhm.
So people can find out about locations at millionairejumpstart.com. But I say sooner than later, really, that's the thing to do. If you could possibly make it to the Dallas event, do that, because you're going to get value from it. Leaving that event, we've had so many people do just insane numbers of deals only because they picked up the right way there at that event. So they're able to springboard, and that's why I call it Jumpstart, because I'm serious
Mhm.
about that. And we support people afterwards as well. So because of that, we're able to, support people down the road.
Great stuff, great stuff. I'm also getting the question of how do they become a certified
Affordable housing provider, right?
Yes, sir.
Certified affordable housing provider.com is a place that you can learn more about that. And it has been a great journey. We started using that concept back in 2008, and we actually registered the trademark in 2012. We just renewed it now. So we're beyond our 10-year mark, which is a very big deal in trademarking, but we're beyond our 10-year mark in all the trademarks that we have. And that solidifies it in the world of trademarking. Anyway, we started that back then, and we just built it. We built it from scratch. We built it with the help of my Platinum Mastermind group, where they give me great feedback. And many of them now have wrapped vehicles. They have offices. They have signage. They've really grown it into their own multi-million-dollar business. I don't participate in those businesses except for providing them services and training. And other than that, they've got their own personal business. So it's not required to share deals with me. It's not required to give me a percentage of those deals or anything like that. We just give people the license to be able to use our documentation and our branding and our training. And then they're able to grow amazing businesses wherever they want to, by the way, because this is a long distance thing as well as right in your local community. So I teach both aspects.
Okay. Great stuff. Great stuff. And you're based out of Atlanta. When is the next time you're doing something in Atlanta?
Let's see. We do our 4-day events, which is what we call our in-depth trainings. We do those all in Atlanta, and we do the jump starts kind of all around the country. So we'll be doing our next Atlanta event in June 8th through the 11th. And that's our massive passive income event. That is just a killer event in terms of teaching people things they've never heard before. A landlord makes the difference between what their cost of funds is and what they rent the property for. That's what a landlord makes. We start there, and we have 25 profit centers over and above that. So we help people to massively maximize the current customer that they already have in properties they already own, plus going forward as they're acquiring properties, they're able to pile on these various profit centers that their customers like and appreciate. And now you can make money on those profit centers.
Wow.
It's a magical thing.
Great stuff. So we're coming up on our time, Mr. Brown. So I want to give you an opportunity to share with the folks how they can stay in contact with you. I know you gave a few of the sites that they can go and register for the events. Is there a way? And I know you. So I want to first of all take you up on the invitation to come to the international place to real soon. But how is it that folks can follow you or stay in contact with you?
Well, I would love that. And we've got so many ways. One is streetsmartinvestor.com is our main website. If people want me to speak for them, that would be lewisbrown.com is my speaker site. And if you'd like to know more about the Certified Affordable Housing Provider program, that's certifiedaffordablehousingprovider.com. And then, of course, Wealth Builder Workshop is wbwlive.com. And for a lousy $1, for $1, you can get hours of training that I do about every 6 weeks. I do those Saturday events. We'll be doing another one, in fact, on the 22nd of April. And that's on property management. That one's focused on a particular topic, property management, for those people that expect to hold properties. I want to teach you how to do that. Plus, you can make income off of property management by managing for other people. And we've got a very unique way, as you've learned today, we've got a very unique way that we do what we do. And so it can be highly profitable to do that for others that own property as well. And then, of course, managing your own property. So having been in this business over 40 years, I've learned what tenants do, and I've learned what we can do to incentivize them to do the right thing. to do what they actually agreed to in the standard rental agreement that we provide and we train on. So I'll be training that one on the 22nd of April, wbwlive.com. You can find more about that one. And let's see here, what else? Okay, then of course the book that I shared earlier, that would be streetsmartinvestor.com/BHS book. You get a $5 off coupon there. And I would love to see you guys at Millionaire Jumpstart, millionairejumpstart.com. That's really where the rubber meets the road when we have that 3 days together where we can go in depth. And I love making people whole around the entire business model and even teaching trusts there as well. We even do some trust paperwork while we're there.
Wow, great stuff, great stuff. Yeah, that whole deal right there, just the concept of showing someone, and like I said, it was monumental for me, and it was life changing because of the way I do business now. Knowing how to put something in a trust, the land trust, and do your business that way, and not have to worry about the different things that come along with it. I tell people all the time, because we deal with people who are going through probate, and trying to help people understand that you can avoid that process if you just use the simple document to help you out on that.
And it's so simple. Like you said, it's so simple. Why doesn't everybody know about it? They have kept it a secret, and I'm here to share the secret. I'm here to let people know that you can do it too. If it's in the law, you can do it too. So we all know that news is suppressed. We all know that there's certain things they don't want us to know. And look, you already heard today where I come from. I come from the other side of the tracks. I come from no money. I come from no nothing. So when I'm able to find these things out, I like to share them with others because all of us deserve. I say it's all available for all of us. It's all available for who? All of us is the answer. So when I can reveal that to folks and give them support that they need to implement, because implementation, there's a distance between knowledge and implementation. I like to span that knowledge gap and help people to win at that.
Very good. Very good.
There's one other aspect that we didn't cover today that is so valuable and important, and that is a thing called taxes. So a lot
I
of
was going to ask you about that.
yeah, that's something that our world of real estate is very giving, and we can make a lot of money at it. But if we only do one aspect, it can cost us big. So for example, my wholesaler friends, they're buying and they're selling, and that's the highest expense when it comes to taxes that there is. Capital gains and ordinary income. Those are your two enemies in business, capital gains and ordinary income. Well, imagine that that's just one aspect of what we do when we plug in the rent to own, and the in-house financing. Each one of those has its own taxable event, and those other ones give great tax deductions and great tax credits. So as a result of what we can do in those three categories, we can offset the fourth category of flipping, or when we sell a property, and as a result put ourselves in a position to zero out our taxes. And so that's one of the reasons that the path to home ownership is so valuable, not only for the person on the path to home ownership, but for the investor allowing the path to home ownership, because they're getting a huge tax benefit in not flipping only, right? But actually doing it as part of an overall strategy.
Wow, great stuff, great stuff. And that was one of the things that I actually was going to get into that, about asking about how a lot of these things come into place with taxes. And you mentioned one of the things that I always talk about. Like I tell people now, I don't flip anymore. I don't flip houses anymore because I find that wasn't a whole lot of money in it because
Yeah,
uh,
exactly.
because of the
You're
tax
singing my song, man.
right.
That is so true. I love getting wholesalers in my room. Because
Yes,
I
yes.
say,
If
now
if you
let's
don't
just
mind, can you
compare.
kind of elaborate a little bit on that, as it relates to wholesalers and
Oh,
how
yeah.
their business model is, as well as flippers? What is your take on that?
Well, I'll give you a great example where I had these three wholesalers in my room not so long ago. And I said, well, tell me about your business. And so they said, well, we're spending 30 grand a month on mailings and we got all these postcards going out and we got a whole team. We got 4 people on the team and one of them does this, one of them does, the whole thing. They were explaining it to me and I'm going, wow. And I said, so how much did you make last year? Oh, well, I said, how many deals did you? They said, well, we did 40 that we closed and we did
Mhm.
another 40 that we didn't close. And I said, okay, that's great. So how much did you make on average on all of those? Oh, we made about $10,000-$12,000 per deal. I said, great. So how much did you net on that? Oh, well, are we going to talk about that? I said,
Right.
yeah. I said, yeah, we're going to talk about that. They said, well, about 25 grand. And I said,
Wow.
okie dokie. So let's take that as a backdrop. Let's take that as a foundation to what I'm about to teach you. And
Mhm.
so then I laid out for them how we buy houses, right? How we buy
Yes.
houses cheap, how we can buy houses with the seller being the bank,
Mhm.
how we can creatively finance those deals. And then on the other side, how we can sell these properties at above market, 10 to 20% above market. And
Mhm.
we can make an amazing cash flow in between and an amazing equity spread as well. And I said, all those deals that you're flipping to people like me, by the way, I'm a buyer from wholesalers. I love wholesalers.
Right.
I must have 200 wholesalers in my phone right now. And I
Uh-huh.
love wholesalers. In fact, we bought one today. We bought one today in
Mhm.
Douglasville. And so, and it's from a wholesaler. Well,
Mhm.
why am I buying that house? I could be out there buying those houses. No, I love those wholesalers. They're out there doing all that work. So I can do what I do, which is my magic of finding the buyer that we already have for that house, by the way, that's going to move in as soon as we close on it. That seller's going to move out, that buyer's going to move in. And
Wow.
we're
Wow.
already got down payment on file with these people. We already
Wow.
know how much they can afford. We've already qualified them. They've already done their applications. Everything is cool. So
Mhm.
so it's a literal buy sell on the same day program,
Wow.
and we're able to monetize that because we're receiving that down payment money from those folks. It's not a rental. This is rent to own, owner finance, cash sale.
Mhm.
That's our focus of what we do and how we do it. And so not only are there tax benefits in that, but the big news is that we're not spinning our wheels, spending a whole lot of energy. So, Glenn, I have a thing called ROI. You've heard of that, return on investment.
I call him Roy.
Yeah. Now that's Roy, but I talk about ROE,
Okay.
revenue,
Oh,
re-
Ro. Okay.
return on energy, return on
Wow.
energy. So return
Wow.
on energy is so much higher with what I'm doing because it has a payday every month and
Every
sometimes
day.
multiple times per month with that same
Absolutely.
customer too. And that's a whole other thing to teach you. But basically, there's a lot to the story. And when you get that, you can actually hover in this world and not have to do that many deals. I've got a saying
Mhm.
called less deals, less work, more money. Right?
Wow.
So you really don't have to do a whole myriad of deals like these wholesalers do. God bless them. All of that volume, it makes my head swim. Uh, we don't have to do that kind of volume to make some really, really super money.
Great, great stuff. Great stuff. Listen, absolutely amazing. I'm gonna do everything I can to make it to Dallas. I
Make
haven't
it
yet.
happen, man.
I'm
Make it
gonna make it
happen.
happen. I'm gonna do everything
We're,
I can. I had something else for those dates, but I
change it.
definitely want to.
Your
Yeah.
daughter's getting married. Have her change the dates. It's too important.
Hey, listen, for you, I would probably do something like that because I know the value in what you're going to bring. I'm actually definitely going to look forward to doing that.
Well, bring a herd with you as well. Bring your whole tribe.
Absolutely.
We would love to see them, and more than happy to be of service.
Great stuff. Great stuff. Again, Uncle Lewis, I'm going to call you from now on.
Oh, I forgot that the people can call our 800 number too. I'll give you that. 800-578-8580, 800-578-8580 if you need to talk to anybody live and in person.
Okay. I'll make sure our folks put that in the comments as well. Again, thank you. Listen, this probably, we're going to have to do a part 2 and a part 5, up to part 5.
I got all of that.
I'm grateful, sir, again, for you taking the time to be on the show with me today. And since I've always known you all the time, you always add a tremendous amount of value, and I'm grateful for what you do. And I certainly will do the very best I can to see you in Dallas on that weekend.
Awesome. Well, thank you as well, Glenn. I really appreciate the opportunity to be of service to you, and certainly appreciate the invitation.
Absolutely. So listen, this has been our show. This is one of those, like I told you earlier, like the uncle you haven't seen in a long time. You're happy to see him again. I almost don't want to end the show, but I know we got to go. Someone came on. All right. Okay. So this has been the Real Life Real Estate Investing Show, where we talk about real life real estate situations, but we always bring you real life real estate solutions. I'm your host, Glenn Glasper. We've had the great opportunity to speak to a legend in this business, Mr. Lou Brown. And again, thank you for being on the show. Thank you all for watching, and I look forward to seeing y'all next week.
Yeah, baby.